I felt that there was more aspects to the restaurant game. A restaurant isn't just about the food. In the start of my career, I was just like, I'm going to focus on the food. I just care about making good food. I just want to learn about food. I don't care about anything else. But a restaurant's a business. Like anything else, it's a business. So if you make really good food, but you don't understand the business, well, you're not going to have a business for very long.
Hi everyone, welcome to Hungry Hugger Chefs TV. Every 2 weeks we bring you talent chefs in town. And today we've got Chef Lon here. I'm your host, Bonnie, and this is our co-host, David. Chef Lon, he's originally from Hawaii. He started his career in San Francisco, Hawaii, Singapore, and now Hong Kong. Where you started, you worked at a 2-star Italian restaurant called Aquario, and then later to SAISON, now 3-star restaurant that focuses on fresh produce.
So welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Thank you for having
How are
me.
you doing? How are you doing? How do you like Hong Kong so far?
It's good. Hong Kong's good. Good food. Good pace. I like the pace a lot. And yeah, it's treating me pretty good so far.
Right, cool.
Yeah.
So let's just dive into some questions like your background first, right?
So my mom's from Korea, and my dad is from Singapore, and he's Singaporean Chinese, and I was lucky enough to be made in Hawaii.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And growing up in between Hawaii and Singapore, really, both of them are it's like a melting pot. How has that influenced you in terms of?
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Hawaii, and we made very frequent trips during the summer to visit family in Singapore, of course. And you're absolutely right. Singapore is a huge melting pot of culture, as is Hawaii. I think being exposed to so many different cuisines and cultures at an early age really kind of trains you to be culturally aware, and also if you're lucky enough to be having parents like mine who are very adventurous eaters and make us try everything under the sun, really tunes your palate to different cuisines and ingredients as well.
Were they really surprised when you told them you want to become a chef?
I don't think they were surprised, but they weren't happy about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you overcome that?
Just do it. Just do it.
Did you do any agreement with your parents? Like, I'm gonna try this out first.
Yes, actually. So what happened was, I graduated high school and I was like, okay, I wanted to be a chef. So maybe like the past 2 years of high school, I decided this is a career path that I would want to pursue. I told my parents that, and they weren't exactly thrilled with it, but they're like, okay, why don't you try a year of regular university first and see how it goes, and you go from there. Actually, their words were, you get a degree first, and then you can see.
Typical Asian parents.
Exactly. Very disappointed I wasn't a doctor or a lawyer, as everyone else. So I did a year in San Francisco at the University of San Francisco. I didn't really have a major, so I just basically played video games. And
So did you finish the whole year, or did you get the degree?
no, I finished the year. Then I said I wanted to go to culinary school, and lucky enough in San Francisco there's a couple. In the San Francisco Bay Area there's a few culinary schools. So I went to one that was at the time was called California Culinary Academy. I believe they changed their name since.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because of you?
Yeah, probably.
All right. So after that, so you did not finish your degree, and then you sort of go into culinary school.
Yep.
What did you do after? Did you go back to Hawaii, or you stay in San Francisco?
So what I did was so at the culinary school we have to do something called an externship. Basically, it's an internship in a kitchen, right? So you have to do that for like the last 3 months of your school before you can get your actual degree. So what I ended up doing was for my externship, I ended up going back to Hawaii to work in a restaurant called Chef there, which is a well-regarded restaurant. He's one of the founders of what they call Hawaiian regional cuisine.
Right.
Yeah, so I did that, and I basically stayed on to work for almost a year.
Could you describe a little bit about what is Hawaiian cuisine? Because to us,
We don't know. We just know
no idea.
Pokeball.
I know there's some spam in there, and I know there are a lot of Japanese influence in there.
Mm-hmm.
Could you explain a little bit more, like
What is
Hawaiian cuisine?
Sure, no problem. Absolutely. There's two kind of main things about the cuisine of Hawaii. So there's native Hawaiian cuisine, which is the what they say is pre-contact. So before Hawaii was discovered by Europeans, it would be native Hawaiian cuisine.
Yeah.
At that time, they're primarily an agricultural society, but all of the agriculture that they had to bring over with them. So the Polynesians were travelers. So what they believe is they originated in like the Indo-Malaya region, and they're master navigators, master seafarers.
Yeah.
So they traveled all throughout these islands in the Pacific, and they brought with them what they call canoe plants. So they would bring these because they knew where they were going.
Yeah.
They might not have food. So they bring taro, sugarcane, chickens, pigs, dogs, sweet potatoes, bananas.
Do they eat dogs there?
They used to eat dogs, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
There's some common ground of Chinese.
Yeah. Yeah. So they would bring these, and so basically they would have these and whatever was on Hawaii at the time. So basically mainly seaweed.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a rudimentary cuisine.
Yeah.
It wasn't extravagant by any means. Of course, like they had different foods for different celebrations, and there was a very rigorous, I wouldn't say rigorous, but a very stratified society. So there would be certain foods reserved for chiefs, certain foods that were taboo for women. Yeah. So it was that would be native Hawaiian cuisine.
All right. So apart from the native ones, you said there's another kind, right?
Okay. Yeah. So then there's local cuisine. Local cuisine is what is in Hawaii now, and what would
Which is
the-
after contact, right?
after contact, and what will be considered like everyday food for people now.
Right.
So it would have influences from Japan, China, Korea, Philippines, Portuguese influence as well. Also, like mainland America as well.
So what would be a native ingredient, so to speak?
Native ingredients would be native Hawaiian ingredients for Hawaiian cuisine would be taro, which is like their main staple.
Okay.
Yeah, they would make that. They would pound that into a paste after steaming in the ground, and that would be like their version of rice.
So what is a must try dish?
In Hawaii?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of things. My mouth is watering just thinking about it. Yeah. Well, poke has been very popular recently, right? So
Yeah.
poke is definitely a must try. Native Hawaiian cuisine, which they would have in certain restaurants, is one of the things I think you should try. So that would be the poi that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Kalua pig, which is the pig that's roasted on the ground. It's
Underground.
underground. So they would take the pork and they pull it. So it's like pulled pork, but it's simple but amazing because it's so smoky and delicious. And
That sounds a little bit like, I think Mexican practice it that way as well.
Similar. I think you're thinking about barbacoa, where
Yeah.
they're buried in the ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very similar. Again,
Okay.
the overlap there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they would have like shave ice, which is like one of the famous desserts, which is originated from the Japanese
Yeah,
Sure,
I
kakao.
sure.
was gonna say.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know. There's so much spam musubi.
Spam. I don't think spam.
There's a
is
spam festival.
Yeah, there's a spam festival every year in Hawaii. Spam is one of those things that became popular after World War II.
Yeah.
I believe, and it just never left. We love it.
All right. So talk about food. So today you brought us some food, some of your creations. Could you talk about that right now? Because I see some spam in there. Right?
There's a little bit of spam in there. I just had to throw it in there because. So what I made was basically a terrine or pork jelly. It's kind of a mishmash of a Teochew style pig trotter jelly and a Cantonese black vinegar ginger pig's feet,
Yeah.
which is what they would serve to women after confinement.
Yeah.
After they give birth, they would have a confinement period, and this is one of those dishes that is supposed to be really nourishing for them. So I kind of did a mishmash of that because in my house we would make black vinegar and ginger pig's feet often because I think our family really likes to eat it.
Okay.
And I like to eat it cold out of the fridge. And my parents think I'm kind of weird for that, but I think it's delicious because the natural gelatin of the pig's feet would set the juices after being cold. So I figured it would be an interesting combination.
Yep.
And we went for it. I didn't have any pig's feet, so I went with pork belly and spam. We also have a little potato and preserved egg salad.
Okay. Well, you gotta talk about that.
The reason I put that together was because I thought of it kind of like this is quite Chinese in flavor.
Yeah.
But
Looks Spanish.
it looks Spanish. It looks French.
Yeah.
It looks kind of like charcuterie, which is basically it is. It's a Chinese version of charcuterie. And in French charcuterie, normally they would serve like a celery remoulade or a sauce gribiche with it, because generally the terrine will be quite bland in flavor. Not necessarily, but sometimes. So they would use that sauce to kind of pick it up. I did the opposite because the jelly is quite acidic and sweet. So what I did was I made the potato and egg salad a little bit more creamy and rich to kind of offset the acidity there. I made a little bit of a pink radicchio and endive salad with some herbs. The chicories, which they're in the chicory family, are bitter, so they also help offset the acidity of the jelly. Yeah.
Interesting. The inspiration behind the potato is quite nice as well, and the way you make the terrine.
I agree.
It does have a almost like a childhood memories and then sort of like heritage behind it, and also the places you worked before, right? So a lot of European influences.
Whoops.
A lot of European flavor. Don't worry, it's not pretty food. It's supposed to be ugly afterwards, to be honest.
Ugly delicious,
Ugly
right?
delicious.
Delicious.
We're gonna attack Ugly Delicious and hope David Chang's gonna like it.
Shout out to David Chang.
Oh yeah.
Oh, thank you.
So what was it like working in SAISON? Like, I mean, it becomes one of the best restaurants in America right now.
I would have to say when I started, it was part of like the opening crew basically, and it was very early days. It was a great experience.
Thank you.
It was tough because at that time it was just a pop-up, right? We would come into the space and we would only be operating Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we would have to basically get prepped and then do service. And we do about 50 people a night for those 3 nights.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was tough because you come in on Thursday and we have service that day and you don't have anything prepped up from before. So you start fresh on Thursday. And you're working in the same space as like a cafe and someone doing meal prep and having a bakery making cookies. So it was a bit tough. And after
it's like a central kitchen or something like that?
It was a shared kitchen space.
Okay.
So that's why it started off as a pop-up in a shared kitchen space. And yeah, it was just kind of like a whirlwind of activity. And you're trying to get prepped up and you're trying to do really nice food in here.
Right.
And you're sharing the walk-in with a bunch of other people who are, not so used to handling food that great. And yeah, so like it was tough to be working in the same space.
Yeah.
And then after they all cleared out, we had to get ready for service, so we had to rearrange the whole space for service and then pack it up at the end of the night and do it again. So it was a bit challenging, but it was a really fun experience because you got to see everything. You got to hands on everything. Like he would come in on Thursday with all this fresh produce, and you'd be like, "Wow, this is pretty stellar stuff."
So when we talk about produce, like San Francisco, California, really famous for their produce.
Famous.
But where do you get yours? Because you're pop-up, right? You don't get a very stable purveyors.
There's no delivery address.
At that time, so San Francisco has like 3 major farmers markets. The Bay Area, sorry.
Yeah.
San Francisco Bay Area has 3 huge farmers markets.
Yeah, can you tell us the name?
So there's a Ferry Building Farmers Market, which is like the biggest one. Also the most famous, and has amazing produce, like all year round, fantastic, bar none, best I've ever seen. And all these same farmers go to the Berkeley's Farmers Market and also the Marine Farmers Market as well.
I guess from the farmers market, you should be getting the usual stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought of like getting something special by maybe foraging yourself?
Yeah, so it's interesting in the sense that San Francisco is kind of a microclimate. So it's on a peninsula, so it has a quite temperate, climate. If you go a little bit inland, it's super dry. If you go a little bit south, it's maybe a little bit warmer. So that area is like really perfect for a lot of great wild forageables. But at the time, because we're a pop-up, we were getting these kind of like herbs and flowers and things like that from somewhere in Seattle. And so they were getting no, they were fresh. But one day the delivery came and it wasn't the freshest. And so we were looking at it and I was just like, Chef, I know where I can get better and nicer things. And basically that's how I became a forager.
Okay.
Yeah. You self-taught, right? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and sign up to our newsletter at hungryhugger.com.